lacquer. Hello, Earth calling, Earth calling. Oh, look, and there we go, as if by clockwork.
The cake's
boom,
just...
the cake has to come out of the oven. That gives everyone a chance to arrive, to arrive. Give us your comments.
What are you up to today?
What are you up to tonight? This is obviously a... Mum, could you turn one of these lights, this light on? Sorry.
This one?
Yeah.
Oh, it's not ready, it's just saying it will be.
Hi guys, how are you? Friday night. Because the podcast Confessions of a Modern Parent has become an audio thing, we thought that this is quite a nice way to have a face-to-face thing. That's NADIA currently negotiating the lights. We need those lights on.
I know, I'm trying to find it. Oh, it's a nightmare.
But what are you guys up to tonight? Hang on, let me try and find you on here.
Where is it?
Here we go.
Can't do it. None of them are working.
Right, I'll do it.
No, it's not. Honestly, it's not working. It's going to be a fight now about the lights. What have you all been up to? Oh, yeah. I have had a lovely day. I met up with some friends for lunch. Had Robbie Williams on Loose Women today. That was pretty cool. And the lovely Ida. We had a gas. And Kiki. Oh, shouldn't say anything just in case Stacey's watching.
About what?
About what's
No. That's Nanny Di in the toilet. Just rushed
So
home
what
from
you
work
up
to
to?
listen to this. Stacey star. Thank you for all your very supportive comments, Stacey star. I presume that's what you're called, or is it Stacey?
I'm a little bit squished.
You're going to push me. You've got all that frame there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, move away from me.
Do you like my new jumper? Look, guys. Isn't it lovely?
Red Bull gives me wings.
Harpen. It's from a store called Harpen. Really like them.
Apparently Robbie Williams is a fan.
Yeah, Robbie Williams said to... So Robbie Williams... Let me just tell them the story. So Robbie Williams was on the show today and he came on and he said to me in the break, he goes, oh, I was watching your stream last night. And I said, what's a stream? I didn't know what that meant.
Stream of we.
So then later on he goes, yeah, I was watching you and your husband on social media. And I was like, oh, right. Thinking, no, he's got it wrong because we weren't on social media yesterday. Anyway, then after the show, he comes running in. He goes, I've just checked and it was you. I love what your husband's doing. I love what your husband's doing. And I presume he means with the mental health stuff and stuff because, you know, he's somebody that's openly struggled and openly spoken about it. And so many people are still so frightened about talking about any mental health issues because of the fear of judgment.
And you should have told Robbie Williams that all of the Adderleys hail from Stoke, which is where Robbie Williams is from. An additional connection.
To say that to
Staffordshire
Ida.
and Stoke. Yeah, we're Stokies.
They were talking about that today because he's going back there next year to do
know,
a big gig.
They'll probably know Adderley Green, Adderley House, Adderley. That's all the Adderleys. We should go there. We should go down. We should go back to my heritage. Anyway, this is...
I should have said that to them today. We were talking about Stoke a lot.
Oh, my granddad.
Of course, I forgot that.
Yeah. Anyway. So thanks for joining us, everyone. This was... Did anyone get a chance to listen to our... Right, below here are the links to our Confessions of a Modern Parent podcast. You can watch them, listen to it on Global, Spotify or iTunes. But we thought it'd be nice to have a bit of a chinwag about some of the issues that come up in it. And we did some questions and answers. In fact, if you go to your Instagram, Nads, there, and you go to our favourites, I've kind of saved some of the answers to some of the questions that we were asking about. Teenagers, look, teenagers are a tricky bunch at the best of times. Maybe we should
tell people what we're talking about in case they've just
Well, it says mental health in our teens. We're talking about mental health.
But this is off the back of a podcast we do called Confession. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I just said all of that. But don't worry. But it is tricky, isn't it? It's tricky for adults. What I'm trying to say is it's very tricky for us adults. Adderley Green is round the corner. You're joking. Steph Brooks. Adderley Green. Sorry, I had to come off the mental health chat there. Well, Adderley, I hate to say it, but Adderley Green was named after our great-great-great-grandfather. Someone lives next door to Adderley Green in Stoke.
Oh,
our Adderley
I was
Green.
talking to Robbie today, Robbie Williams. That's a great name drop. And he was talking about going back to Stoke this week. And I forgot all your family's from Stoke.
That is.
Dad's family.
Yeah.
Mum's family from Burton.
But yeah, I was just saying, it's hard enough mental health for adults. Look at Robbie Williams. I mean, if you look at so many... I think the reason a lot of people in the public eye seem to be almost disproportionately impacted by mental health is that because of the touchy-feeliness of the entertainment business and the fact that, okay, it can be full of idiots and nasty people and what have you. But there is also, if you want to open up, there's a relative degree of safety in being able to open up because you've got lovies all around you kind of going, oh, okay, absolutely. It's why you get so many actors who are sort of declared recovering alcoholics and things like that. I think that, you know, there are some walks of life where it's potentially easier to kind of be open about mental health issues, but in all walks of life, it's very hard to know how to tackle these things, don't you think? And I think as a teenager, as a parent to teenagers, I would say that almost a definition of being a teenager is mental health issues.
Well, yeah, because I mean, just on a physiological sense, the way your hormones are just going crazy and sending all your feelings upside down and convincing you that life is as dark as it is, or people, you know, or people, you know, the paranoia that can come in with a hormone, or
absolutely,
you know, because I mean, a lot of depression is a chemical imbalance, and in a way, obviously, this is just us talking as
we're not doctors.
We're not doctors. This is us just chatting about it and thinking about it, and there's probably no science in this. But that's what it feels like. That's what it feels like when I had those hormonal imbalances when I was a teenager. It just felt like my mind wasn't my own kind of thing. And we talk a lot on the podcast about the fact that now young people have this language that we didn't have. We weren't able to say, oh, I've got anxiety, or I've got depression, or I just didn't know those words.
No.
And so the discussion that we have on the podcast, is it a good thing or is it a bad thing for kids now that they are able to articulate?
Do you think it could be both?
I think it's a bit of both.
I think it has to be a bit of both, because in a sense it's got to be better to be able to you know, say stuff or have a language to say stuff. And then you wonder sometimes whether, you know, being able to give a description to absolutely everything you feel gets a bit too pressured in itself. Maybe there's a lot of stress in knowing about stress, if you know what I mean.
Oh, Kirsty Kate, look, she loved the podcast. My dad's been a single dad for 15 years. That's not easy, is it?
No.
And I have bipolar, and he's always blamed my moods on hormones. He won't accept it. That must be so hard.
So difficult.
When your feelings aren't validated, it's just the worst feeling, isn't it? Maybe, what could you do? Maybe you could just get him to...
I would invite him to see your doctor with you.
Yeah.
And then you get a professional to actually unpack what this means.
Yeah.
Because I think one of the dangers with families is we do it, me and Nadia do it together in relationships. We talk about it a lot on our relationship podcast. We make assumptions. We like to sort of think we've already got the answers before we've heard the answers. And so perhaps if your dad was to sit opposite a professional, not in a sort of come to the schoolmaster, headmaster sort of way, but in a, look, Dad, I'd really like you to sit down. I'd like you to listen to someone who knows what they're talking about, a third party. I think it's easy for a lot of parents or a lot of people to think that children... Here's one of the things that me and Maddie have had a lot of discussions about. It's easy for parents to think that teenagers are being over-dramatic. Yeah. You know, it's easy to dismiss things as over-dramatic.
What I would also say is, like, we as your parents are just adult children. We're muddling our way through, and actually it can take a while to accept. Don't worry, that I haven't cut myself, that's food dye. To have acceptance if your child is suffering with anything, whether it's mental health, whether it's anything. Sometimes it's really hard to accept it because you don't want to accept that your child is unhappy. Yeah. So it might be that he just needs a period of adjustment to it, but I think Mark's advice is good. If you could get him to come with you to see your doctor, and then your doctor could talk to you, because it's really important that you do get understanding, isn't it?
Jules Clare, 9, hello. My hubby suffered from depression and took action because of you guys. He's so much better now. Oh my God, Jules, that's amazing.
Oh my God, that's so wonderful.
That's amazing. God almighty, what on earth did we say or do to help? But I'm glad we did.
Well, we know what we do, because when we talk to, like, again, we are not professionals in any way at all. We are not doctors or psychiatrists or whatever, but when we talk about stuff on our podcast or on here, we're very much using the model that Mark's used and I have in different anonymous 12-step meetings, which is not cross-advising, but just sharing your own stuff and then hearing other people share back can give enormous comfort.
Yeah. Well, comfort.
But obviously, if you really believe that you are suffering from a mental illness at the moment, the very, very best thing to do always is to see a doctor first.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I do think that thing of sharing, and I know we talk a lot about 12-step programs. We are a family that lives with addiction. So it is in our everyday life. 12-step program is like AA or Narcotics Anonymous or Cocaine Anonymous or anything.
Or Al-Anon.
Or Al-Anon and what have you. But it's where you go and you stay sober. But the thing about not cross-talking over people. So when a relative, or you're talking to a relative, I think it's quite important sometimes to set your boundaries. Like, listen to what I've got to say. Then let them say what they're going to say. Because you're right. A lot of parents, is, you know, negative reactions to children telling them how they're feeling or perhaps that they've got bipolar isn't necessarily about denying you that you feel that, but it will be about them not wanting to face it because they're in too much pain.
Yeah, because it's frightening. Steph Brooks says it's great to have apps, etc., but teens have lost the ability at times to communicate with social media, etc. We need to talk, listen, accept, give space when you're ready, and then listen. You know what? It's so true. Our girls will say that, you know, on occasion, sometimes in a social situation, they'll be with a group of other teens and every single one of them is on their phone. And you know, it's all those little gaps that we don't fill anymore in with human interaction. Like, you're in a lift, everyone's on the phone. You're waiting at a bus stop, you're on your phone. There's none of those little moments really that people used to have, where you would just have connections with other human beings. And we do really worry. I mean, our kids are good communicators, but we still want them to be better, and we want them to be around people that are better communicators. And I think that's a really good thing, Steph. I remember a teen psychologist saying to me that it's just, you've got to remember they've got thousands of thoughts going through their head. Don't keep asking them what's the matter. It's so hard. We just do it all the time and go like, we've got to stop doing it. And we do it, don't we? We're literally addicted to going to our kids. What's the matter? Are you all right? And sometimes they might be absolutely fine, but they're just thinking about stuff. But you've got to let them think that whenever they do want to talk, they can come and talk.
Absolutely.
Just got to check my cake.
Jackson Gilmer, current alcoholic, any immediate advice on how to tackle that? Someone's just drawn my attention to your post, sorry, just because obviously. I'm not too sure if you're an alcoholic, a current alcoholic, or you know a current alcoholic. All I would say is to anyone in an urgent or critical situation tonight, the first thing to do, there isn't necessarily going to be an AA meeting you can go to, but you can call Alcoholics Anonymous, and there'll be some very helpful people on the end of a phone. But the other thing you can do is phone anyone you know or love, or anyone who is a friend or family who isn't drunk and isn't drinking tonight, and either stay on the phone to them for as long as you need to, or see them, or get them to come over and see you, or if they're in the same building, you know, or if they were going out, tell them not to go out. You know, it's serious. If you're feeling in a bit of a hole on a Friday night, I've been there countless times.
There's lots of AA meetings on a Friday night.
The best thing, but there won't be any at this time, I've checked. You know, if you can't get to a meeting now, Alcoholics Anonymous helpline is always there. Failing that, Samaritans is always help. I know it's always like a quick and easy kind of solution, but all you need is someone with a friendly voice. So that would be my advice now, Jackson. Preferably someone who knows you and you know, who knows that you're struggling and is sensitive and supportive to you. That would be good.
Samaritans always. We can maybe put the numbers up underneath.
Yeah. My son, Kerry Hodgkinson, my son was self-harming and it was difficult for us to talk about it between us. He overcame this by substituting for tattoos. He has 5 tattoos now, 1 to cover scars, others to stop him cutting. It's funny, isn't it? Because it's hard to know whether having too much language to talk about these things can aggravate or prolong a problem or trigger something that's a much bigger problem than if we didn't have the language and we weren't talking about it. I mean, I'm of the opinion that if you've got any kind of mental, you know, health issue, however you try and hide it or conceal it, it's going to bounce out in many different ways. If I give you my honest opinion, it's why I think societally we are addicted to alcohol, because everyone is medicating themselves constantly, and it's the most agreeable and permissible way to do it. So yes, I went through depression, Bev's from home, and anxiety 2 years ago was a tough time, but through the worst now. But here's the thing also, Bev's from home, brilliant that you feel like you're through the worst for now. I'll tell you something else that kicks in with mental health, and I think teenagers feel this a lot, is a little bit of shame at times around the idea that it's still there, or you're not getting over it, or that you might have conquered a period of it and then it comes back. You know, there's a lot of sort of embarrassment or not wanting to burden someone. And if I think about some of the comments that, you know, our girls have said at certain times of their lives when they were much younger than you think they would be, saying this thing of, well, I didn't want to say because I've said it before, or I didn't want to say because you thought that it was over or resolved around bullying and things like that. You know, there is never a right time. There is never a time at which you've felt something for too long or you've outstayed your welcome. Equally, in reference to what you just said, Bevs from home, if you're better today and you're better for a prolonged period of time, it's not a setback for you to have a time in the future where perhaps you're not feeling so great. See what I'm saying? Because I can be really harsh on myself and my own mental health issues around being a parent, as well as the mental health issues of my children. Am I being perfect enough? Am I being approachable enough? Have I been a bit too scratchy there? Does that mean they're not going to be able to open up to me? You know, so all these things, it's never an easy and consistent line. Mental health, just like life, isn't it? Is it?
Sorry, I just had a cake in the oven.
That's all right. Ragley, 1980. My dad committed suicide when I was 11, then had a stepdad that didn't want me around. I moved out when I was a junior in high school.
God.
Cherish your kids. Yeah.
Oh, God.
Tough.
That's
tough.
a lot.
Yeah. You know, and I mean, how much of mental health issues is inherent and in there, and how much of it is sort of, you know, nature-nurture thing, isn't it? You know, you can't tell. And some issues that you go through, like post-traumatic stress, can be related to an incident or a series of incidents. You know, therapy is the only way, really. Oh gosh, look, suddenly loads of things coming. As a 16-year-old, Sophie, I think parents don't know what to do because the words depression and anxiety are thrown around a lot. I think kids are just saying it. Kids are attention seekers in school.
I think
Very
this
good
is
point,
a
Sophie.
really good point.
Yeah.
We don't want to get word weary.
No.
Where there's nothing that annoys me more than when people say, oh, everyone's got a mental health.
Yeah.
Oh, God, anxiety. Well, we didn't know about anxiety when we were kids. Well, you didn't have a word for it.
No.
And we do talk a bit about that, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
Talk about our parents and our experience on the podcast. We talk about that. But I think that's a really good point,
Really
Sophie.
good point.
Yeah.
Eva Rodimer, sorry if I'm not pronouncing you correctly. I suffered with severe anxiety throughout my second year of uni, and your vlogs were the main thing that kept me going. Oh, bless you. Even if it was just putting you guys on in the background, it helped me so much. Thanks.
It's funny, isn't it, all the things that help? It's like, I notice with our girls, I'll sometimes say to them, do you want to do a bit of cooking?
Yeah, yeah.
And
I see it relax Kiki,
oh my
blessedly.
God, what about Maddie when she makes a spaghetti bolognese?
Yeah, she's in the
stirring,
zone.
stirring.
True.
So that's also quite good for me when I feel anxious doing something, baking a cake. Mark, you know, it's exercise, it's running, it's reading, it's you listen to music, the radio.
You mentioned a really good thing there, though, which I forget a lot, because I do most of my work and sort of preoccupation is in my head, and that's not good because that's where half the problems are. Last night, you'll find out in our vlog in the next couple of days, I spent half an hour untangling Christmas lights. It was the only half an hour this week I forgot about all my worries.
But that's mindfulness.
That's
what I'm always saying.
But that's the only half an hour.
Yeah, it's just, I say to the girls when they feel anxious, I say, what are you going to use out of your toolbox? Because the toolbox is, you're going to take the dogs for a walk, you're going to have a bath, you're going to phone a friend, are you going to watch a cartoon, are you going to draw, are you going to paint? And anything that soothes it is the right thing, as long as it's not obviously alcohol or drugs, which is where a lot of people go for anxiety, because of course that will only make it, just makes it worse. It might help for 5 minutes, but then it will make it worse.
What we're going to try and do with this podcast on a weekly basis, and it is about parenting teens, but of course it's aimed at teens and parents. I suppose it could be aimed at
when we
parents.
started recording it, right, we never thought for a second kids would listen to it.
No.
But kids are listening, and we thought, oh my God, of course.
Yeah.
And what I love about our podcast is that our children, we set a question to them. We text it when we're on our way to the recording studio, a question like, what do you think Dad thinks about the way you dress, or something like that. And then they record a voice note and they send it into the recording studio. So the first time we hear it is when you hear it on the podcast.
It's a nice detail.
And it's really interesting. And we'd like more of those teen voices. Because so we want to get lots of your questions and stuff into the podcast.
So we're going to start flagging up what the subjects are that are coming up so that we can share at the end of some of our podcasts some of your comments. Because, of course, we want to carry on with the podcast what we do on YouTube, which is like, we like all of your feedback. Yeah. We like to feed it back to you. It's like a holistic whole. It's like a circle of trust. Do you remember that in Meet the Fockers? The circle of trust. You inside the circle of trust. But a lot of people talking about anxiety I just saw going up there, and how, you know, yeah, anxiety is a funny one, isn't it? Sometimes it can be the most unlikely thing that just gives you that sort of comfort blanket.
And I think also it's understanding. Maddie wrote a song for Kiki called Anxiety. Maddie, our eldest, for our youngest. And Kiki's only been able to listen to it a couple of times, because each time she listens to it, it makes her cry. And I said, why does it make you cry? And she said, because it says so perfectly what I'm feeling. And it really made me think that. I thought, that's what we all want so much, isn't it? Just somebody else to understand.
Yeah.
Like, even we can't fix it. Nobody can fix somebody else's anxiety, but for somebody else to just go, yeah, no, I hear you, and that must feel like shit, is a big thing.
And not to feel shame. Shame is the thing. I mean, I feel like I would say that I button up my lip, not because I don't have a supportive family. I do. I have an incredibly supportive, willing to listen family. But I do keep quiet and inside a lot of what I'm feeling, because you've got to you feel like you've got to at some point put some sort of barriers in. So it's really important, what I'm trying to say is it's really important to have more than just your family to talk to. You know, if you can have any sort of outside group, whether it be a therapy group, whether it be a therapist, whether it be your mates, but you know, if it's around alcohol and stuff like that, there must be, is there someone in your friendship group? It's hard, I know, who can see you without a drink and won't judge you for it, say, for example. You know, and you know, are there people that you know that won't scoff and laugh and sort of say anxiety is a nonsense even concept? You know, it is hard. I mean, I struggle with a social circle outside of, you know, my family and a small coterie of friends. But if you can plug into a larger group, it just, think of it like oxygen passing through your bloodstreams, you know what I mean? It kind of just, it keeps you going. But yeah, anyway, well, we just thought we'd touch base with you guys. And if you like this, keep putting comments below. Just below here, you can go to the link to all our podcasts on various platforms.
Click on the and have a listen.
Have a listen.
We talk
iTunes,
in more detail
Spotify, Global
We'd love
Player.
to hear what you think.
But yeah, and leave comments on the podcast, because what we tend to do is we tend to screenshot them and then post them on our Insta stories. So, and if you like it, obviously, give us some likes and all that kind of stuff. But the most important thing is a dialogue. We want a genuine dialogue as we move through these podcasts about parenting. And as I say, it's about parenting and it's about teens.
And it's been so fascinating for us that the teens are loving it.
Yeah.
Because teens are wanting to. It just shows that
teens want to understand.
They want to understand. We all want to understand each other a bit more. And it's just that there's this huge gap. You know, the kids disappear to their bedrooms all the time, and we're all filling the gap. Let's try and close the gap.
All right, guys. Lots of love. Lots of content landing this weekend.
Do not forget to join us live this Sunday night.
Oh, Christ.
For December Vlogmas. the 1st, first day of Vlogmas. What you can't see is we've decorated the house behind here.
Vlogmas launch.
And we're going to reveal it on Sunday. And also, we want you to help us decorate the Christmas tree. We're going to have all our decorations. The family are all coming round. And we're going to have maybe some Christmas tunes, if we can get away with that without YouTube turning us off. And a jolly old time. What time will that be?
Haven't got the foggiest. Bless you. You will know if you don't follow us on Instagram, Nadia, Sawalha and Family, _Adderley, and we'll be posting all sorts of notifications there.
And the other thing is, if you subscribe and hit the notification bell on here, you have to hit the notification bell.
The little bell.
YouTube will then just tell you when we're live. The reason we're not being tricky, it's just we're not sure when all the family are getting here, so we can't absolutely say what time it is.
No.
But we want loads of people to join day one of Vlogmas, because we're going to do it every day, even Christmas Day.
But even before Vlogmas, you have got possibly one of my most enjoyable vlogs tomorrow, which is Lisa and her trying to sort that cupboard out.
God.
I have never laughed so hard in all my life.
It's so bad.
Tune in or be square. And if you fancy travelling back in time 11 years, check out Eating in the Sun that's on the channel, landed earlier tonight. Bye, guys. Oh, and Gems19, such kind words. Thank you.
Yeah, check out Eating in the Sun. It's a programme Mark and I made. It's gorgeous food, travelling all around Italy.
Looks rather nice. And I don't know who that sexy voice is either.
Italy.
All over you. No, my voice, darling.
See if you can. I was going to say, see if you can guess it.
Oh, I thought it was the Italian voice. I thought you were going Italy. Bye, guys.